Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode of The Grandstand here on the Ohio Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I'm, as always, your host, AR the Ohio Patriot. And for today's episode, we're going to talk about how calling out leftist insurrections when you see them happening in your state house are apparently misinformation and disinformation according to the retarded leftist pieces of shit who are still trying to gaslight everybody as if January 6th was a whole grassroots uprising by the right and not a bunch of fucking federal agents, which has now been proven that there was over 40 federal agents leading that whole thing in the Capitol on January 6th, 2021. So, yeah, needless to say, not to mention Antifa members for that matter as well, and BLM members and stuff like that that were all undercover, etc., that have all been proven out in the past year and a half or so. Yeah, these people are a bunch of dumb fucking NPCs, dude, is what it is. So basically, yesterday at the Ohio State House, we talked about this a couple times in the last couple grandstands and stuff like that. There were multiple hearings going on yesterday down in the Ohio General Assembly. One of them was for House Joint Resolution 1. Another one was for Senate Joint Resolution 2, which would basically more or less be the same thing when it's all said and done, and they would essentially create the 60% threshold deal for changing our state constitution. That's the entire point of the whole thing, is it's to make it so that you can't just have a simple majority, basically gerrymander enough votes is what it is, or create some kind of voter fraud or whatever it is there to, ballot harvest or whatever, and continue to basically, push through their own crap and then eventually change your state constitution is what it is. And what's funny to me is how a lot of these leftists that were down there testifying against the stuff were talking about how other states that didn't have the ability to change their state constitution, like your Californias and stuff like that, have the ability to recall vote, which, I said yesterday as well. I think we should have her in Ohio, honestly. I've been saying it for years, honestly. It's fucked up that you can have a county commissioner, etc., recalled in the state of Ohio, but you can't have a state rep or state senator or governor or secretary of state, AG, etc., thrown out of office through a recall vote and stuff like that. And I think that's something should change in Ohio, honestly, because I guarantee if it did, you'd see every single Democrat in the Ohio General Assembly right now removed from office based on recall voting. And I'll tell you who's going to lead a lot of those recall votes. It's this man right here. So, anyway. So, basically, meanwhile, you had another thing happen there at the State House where you had a bunch of leftist little fuckwits who claim to be transgender, etc., who are all about having a biological advantage against actual biological females by letting dudes compete in women's sports is what it is. And we're basically throwing a little mini insurrection act / hissy fit outside the fucking chambers there, where they were screaming and chanting like the typical cultist NPCs that they are is what it is, dude. Because that's the thing at the end of the day. When you look at these people, there is no fucking way that they're not non-playable characters and are just completely brain-dead lemmings, basically, dude. And that's the one thing I've realized with the left, ever since waking up to the fact of being a default Democrat voter back in 2012 and then leaving the fucking party forever and never returning to it, and I never will ever again because of these fucking people, is that you have this basically hive mind of insanity, I guess is the best way to describe it, where it's basically you have like 20, 30, 40 people all come together, and they'll essentially just like share a brain is what it is. And you'll have the one, the main one, that'll have the brain that day, say something to you or try to start like some shit with you with an argument or whatever it is. And then from there, you'll have a bunch of the other ones that are, just brain dead followers, zombies, etc., walkers, whatever you want to call them at that point, Walking Dead style shit. We'll just sit there and like blindly be like, retweet response. And that's basically what they did with this Brooke woman last night, because I was on my Twitter account. I was on Twitter account for the network there, and I noticed I had a bunch of things lit up on the side, and I'm like, that seems like a lot. Like I usually only have like one or two, maybe at most, and there was like I think 10 at the time or whatever. I'm like, that seems like a lot, dude. Like what's going on there? So I looked at it, and there's like this woman that's like directly attacking the network's account on there, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like who the fuck is this bitch? And so basically, this is where we start off with this whole thing today, which is this Brooke Binkowski, who, as far as I'm aware, is basically some leftist nutjob, fake media reporter is what it is. She essentially is just some like left-wing kind of Antifa journalist type or whatever there, who her direct attack at me under the network moniker was the following. She said, quote, "You sound like the biggest cowards on the planet. Imagine being such a pussy that you think a peaceful protest is the same thing as the violent trash you support." Which, by the way, she never gave an example of what we actually support here at the network, which, by the way, we don't support violent terrorism like she fucking does with BLM and Antifa, etc., dude. What we support is people being able to carry, people being able to, be legally armed against tyranny, whether that be tyrannical government overreach like what we saw in 2020 lockdowns, or whether that be leftist terrorism that is clearly supported by the Democrat Party in this country, etc., etc. And so, rightfully, I called her bitch ass out on that one before I blocked her. I think I'm not mistaken, I actually reported that tweet for harassing us and stuff like that, which hopefully will do the job and actually knock her for that, but I doubt they will because, they tend not to, unfortunately. They tend not to even, bother with their actual terms of service violations if it's against leftist people, is what it is, dude. But yeah, I said to her, clearly you don't know the first thing about what peaceful protesting is, you leftist NPC, but thanks for letting us know that you support BLM and Antifa domestic terrorism. So, yeah, needless to say. And then I wondered, I'm like, how the fuck did this woman even find us, right? And so I'm looking around, and I'm looking through some other stuff, and then I, did a little research here and stuff like that, and came to find out by looking through Brooke's Twitter account after I blocked her, and then, hit the unblock thing. It wasn't unblocking thing, but it was like the little thing you could actually see their shit without unblocking them is what it is. And so I'm looking at it, I'm just like, huh, interesting. So this is the tweet that I had posted yesterday in response to, I think it was Anna Shraver, or Schaefer, however pronounce this one's name. She is basically one of these mainstream media dipshits for the Ohio State House is what it is, that'll sit there and basically report on the leftist terrorism that's going on, or leftist insurrection stuff that's going on there, but yet never actually call it out for what it is, to which is where I called it out for what it was, which is what I said there, which is, this is the definition of an insurrection. That is literally all I said, by the way. Definition of insurrection. Which, if you look what the definition of an insurrection is in this country, legitimately, by the Merriam-Webster Dictionary definition, grab it up here real quick, is an act or instance of revolting against civil authority or an established government, which is exactly what people were doing, by the way, because they were outside of the state capitol, or they were inside the state capitol, outside of the House chambers is what it was, or committee chambers there is what it was, literally fucking basically screaming at the top of their lungs in a chant that was reverberating around the halls is what it was, dude. Like bitching about trans rights or human rights. Like, shut the fuck up, children. Adults are trying to do their job. Which, by the way, if you do shit like that in the U.S. Capitol, especially during hearings, you will be arrested and you will catch felony charges for disrupting hearings and stuff, dude, which is what these fuckers should be catching right now, honestly. But anyway, so going back to that particular one, you had dipshit Brooke here, and this was her responding to this other idiot, which was this Maria woman. Brooke said, there have been major attempts all over the United States to conflate peaceful protests, I mean violent terrorist riots, with the violent meth-addicted lunatics who smeared shit on Capitol walls on January 6, 2021. By the way, that never happened. That never happened. That's a straight-up lie. You're gaslighting, bitch. What did happen was you had a bunch of Fed boys and a bunch of Capitol cops let a bunch of people into the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. And then she continued on and said, anyone trying to do this should be mocked and sneered at mercilessly for being a lying chicken shit. Yeah, that would be you, bitch. And this Maria Bruno woman said, today I learned that going through metal detectors and security, then chanting in the hallway is, quote, the definition of insurrection. $20 says people who run this account, meaning my account, donated to January 6th legal fees. So, firstly, no, we did not, because we don't have fucking money to do that, you dumb bitch. Nor would we, anyway. Because we know it's a bunch of fucking feds that were behind the shit, you dumbass. We know it was fucking done to literally shut down any other protest in the future is what it was. So, yeah, you're just a lying sack of shit, Maria. You fucking NPC. But we called her ass out too on that one, and we basically, we knocked her for that a couple times because she's obviously trying to smear and slander us as a network right now. And I'm not having it, dude. Especially when you look at this fucking cunt's Twitter account, which is obviously pro-trans people and stuff like that is what it is, dude. That is, ironically enough, I'm surprised that Elon Musk and the people that are running Twitter right now have not actually permanently knocked Maria Bruno's account there on Twitter, given the fact that her background thing is respect my trans homies or I'm going to identify a fucking problem. How is that not a direct threat, by the way? Like, how is that shit right there not a direct fucking threat against anybody, dude? It's a bunch of shit entirely, dude. And of course, this dumb bitch is the public policy director at Equality Ohio. So literally a fucking trans terrorist group is what she's part of, is what it is, dude. Not surprising in the least. That's what these people always are, dude. They are literally what they claim you are. They are always the fucking actual terrorists in this country, is what it is. And they will straight up gaslight and lie their asses off about what's going on in this country. And I'm sick and tired of it. It's why I'll call them out on it, dude. And what's funny to me is how it got them so triggered simply because I called out an actual insurrection act by definition when I saw it happening in my state house yesterday. By a bunch of fucking lunatics, by the way, that were there for two reasons. They were there to let dudes play in women's sports and continue to play in women's sports. And secondly, they were there to oppose bills that would stop small children from being permanently sterilized through transition surgeries. That's who we're dealing with, by the way. That's the fucking sick fucks in this country right now that still have voting rights in the state of Ohio in 2023, which is completely bullshit, dude, at this point. Every single one of these fucking nutcases needs to be locked in a fucking rubber room in a mental institution right now. This is the reason, by the way, this is one of many reasons, actually, why I plan on running for county commissioner next year, and why I eventually plan on running for governor in 2026 if this country is still afloat by that point in time in history, which I doubt it will be, because I think we'll be in a violent civil war by then, dude. And it'll be a violent civil war that's kicked off by these leftist fucking cunts right here, dude, is what it is. Because they'll sit there and talk a whole bunch of fucking shit, try to gaslight people, try to lie about what people are, etc., etc. Well, they themselves are doing the fucking thing that they're claiming the other side's doing. Which, by the way, I love this. I love how this Brooke woman was talking about peaceful protesting and stuff like that. Because a few of the tweets I fired off yesterday were talking about BLM and Antifa terrorism there in Akron and stuff. What happened last night about 7:57 p.m.? Oh, yeah, that's right. The Akron police were forced to disperse a crowd of violent terrorists who were literally throwing fucking bottles and rocks and shit at them that were the dumbasses marching in favor of that moronic dead criminal, Jalen Walker. Because they didn't get what they fucking wanted, which was a bunch of Akron cops indicted over a good shoot. I'm not saying there's not police brutality in the state of Ohio or in this country, for that matter, because there is. But when you can look at this video footage, when you can look at all the shit surrounding the Jalen Walker case, that dude was committing suicide by cop 100%, dude. He was trying to die that night. You don't fucking run from the cops out of a moving vehicle, by the way, because he was jumping out of a fucking vehicle while it was still rolling on the sidewalk there, because he was actually like zipping up on the sidewalk to try to get away from there. Proceeds to hop out of the fucking car, runs from the fucking cops, whips around, grabbing into his waistband area, and it's not until then that the cops start firing on his ass. Which, by the way, they tried to tase him a couple of times, but unfortunately the tasers didn't work. I don't know if it was because because obviously you have the barb things that shoot out a few feet is what it is. I'm not sure if it was something where they either didn't connect properly or they were too far away or whatever to actually hit the contact points is what it is then. But that's why they basically were like ding, 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 ding a bunch of times, which honestly, and I've said it before on this site, dude, and I've said it before on this channel, honestly. If we want to do real police reform in this country, it starts by actually retraining police officers in deadly force incidents, dude. It starts by having them not fucking mag dump into people at that point, dude. You had 3 of those cops, 3 of the Akron cops there, dude, dump an entire mag at that guy. at Jalen Walker. Not even sure if all of them hit his ass either, by the way, because they said they were talking about how many rounds were actually fired in that police involved shooting last year. It was like 90-something rounds. Only like 40-something of them actually hit his body. So it's like, where's the other 40-something, dude? How many innocent fucking people did they possibly kill that night? The cops did. How many innocent bystanders had their fucking houses that were like 20, 30 feet away or more get fucking dinged with an officer's bullet and stuff like that, dude? Like, that's what I'm saying. And what's even worse is when you actually look at the overall thing there, because a lot of these dudes were rookie cops is what it was, dude. They were only there for like a couple years is what it was. A couple of them almost shot each other because the thing about, police when they're, trying to get into a position where they can actually, fire and hopefully not like have like crossfire is what it is. You had all these cops in like different directions and stuff like that. So you had the one guy over here who almost got shot by the first dude over there. So you had like Officer 1 almost shoot Officer 8 or vice versa. That's what it was. And like the same thing with like, I think it was like 2 and 7 or something. And it's like, bro, like that's the problem right there. And I think the real issue comes down to being, it's not that people don't understand that this was a justifiable homicide is what it was, dude. This is a justifiable good shoot. It was the fact that when you see the body cam footage and you see basically 8 cops unloading on this dude, that's, I think, where people were like, what the fuck, bro? Like, this is excessive force kind of stuff. And I don't disagree with what they're saying there. The problem was, had Jalen Walker simply pulled over for the officers and took the minor traffic ticket for, I think it was like a busted taillight or a burned out taillight or something like that, dude, he would have been on his merry fucking way that night. Instead, what did he do? You have video footage from cameras that are all along the highway here in Ohio where you can see a fucking shot being fired out of his vehicle at the fucking cop cars that kicked the whole entire thing off, dude. And mind you, then when you actually look back into Jalen's whole thing before that, like the day before that, he was in a different district, in a different township in the state of Ohio, where he was running from a different set of cops there. And it wasn't until you had I believe it was police sergeant or something like that for that township, basically tell the guy that was the dude behind the pursuit at the time. He's like, oh no, he's like, oh wait, he actually, left our township borders and stuff like that. Okay, stop the pursuit is what it was then. That's the only reason that Jalen Walker wasn't arrested the previous night, dude. So he basically put himself in a situation 2 days in a row to essentially suicide by cop is what it was. And the real problem is then you have these idiots going out there and, quote unquote protesting, but in reality, they're just being violent assholes, just trying to start shit with the cops is what it is. And you had one of these motherfuckers last night who was trying to basically rush at the fucking armed officers last night there in Akron. It was basically Akron PD and Summit County Sheriff's Office. So it would be the sheriff or sheriff's deputies anyway, that were out there doing the patrols and shit for that whole march is what it was last night. You had them, he was like rolling up on them, like trying to like go forward at them or whatever the case be to a certain point, and just saying all kinds of racial shit, dude, towards them. And was essentially, I think he was trying to suicide by cop is what it was, dude. So you could be the next martyr for these idiots is what it was, dude. Because that's what the problem is. You have these people who will look at these things and then they'll look at what's going on after them, where specifically you've already had Jalen's family admit that come June with their dumbass white lawyer is what it is, dude. Because of course they can't find, their own little Ben Crump there. So they got this white lawyer guy who basically admitted they're going to try to do a civil lawsuit come June then for like wrongful death of his ass, which is fucking retarded entirely, dude, because how the hell are you going to do a civil lawsuit against either the city of Akron or the city of Ohio for that matter when your kid was clearly committing suicide by cop? That's obviously not a lawsuitable offense for wrongful death, dude. So anyway, I think that's the biggest thing is people see, man. They will go into these places and grow up in these hoods and shit like that, and then be like, oh, well, this dude's family got a big-ass payday. I might as well get my family a big-ass payday by trying to do the same exact shit at the cops there is what it is. It's just idiocy leading to more idiocy is what it is, dude. It's more terrorism leading to more terrorism, and it's stupid people who are literally going out in the streets in many cases, especially 2020, 2021, etc. there, where you had BLM supporters going out into multiple places and chanting the phrase, and I shit you not, this is a direct quote from these people, who do we protect black criminals. That's what they were chanting. That's who they fucking are, dude. That's what BLM is a terrorist organization right now. It's the same thing with Antifa, dude, and they should both be declared as such. And the fact that Ohio and every other state in this country right now has not declared them that is fucking ridiculous. The fact that the federal government has not declared them that is fucking ridiculous. But why would they? Because literally, when you look at Black Lives Matter, when you look at Antifa as the actual terrorism chapters, and I'm not talking about the everyday fucking people or whatever that want to sit there and talk about BLM, there should be BLM now, whatever, dude. I'm talking about the actual fucking chapter heads. I'm talking about the actual organization that calls itself Black Lives Matter. That's run by people like Patrice Colors, etc., dude, and Sean King, all these other assholes like that. I'm talking about those motherfuckers, the ones that literally committed racketeering charges during the 2020 election cycle to funnel a fuck ton of cash, billions of dollars they were getting from woke-ass corporations to act blue for the Democrat Party so they could get a bunch of their Democrat buddies into fucking office is what it was, dude. I'm talking about those motherfuckers right there. I'm talking about those people. That fucking organization should be declared a terrorist organization in this country. And I'm talking about Antifa as a whole should be declared a terrorist organization in this country. Because when their entire thing, all they want to do is go out there and commit riot after riot and come to actual peaceful events and try to start shit with people as quote unquote counter protesters. It's fucking ridiculous. And that's one thing. I was watching an NEA show last night, and I think it was Duke was on that brought it up actually, and he was talking about how all the people that won't get up and say anything or whatever the case be, and he's right about what he was saying there. And it's what I've seen personally, dude. It's why I won't go out for that matter to these various events. It's because you will have multiple things happen, just like what happened to Wadsworth there, dude. Which I'm gonna take a drink of water real quick before we finish this out then. So you had that drag queen story hour thing in Wadsworth a few weeks ago. You had a bunch of Fed boys planted there as neo-Nazis. You had the guy that was leading them be some dipshit who lives in Maine now. You had a bunch of other Fed boys in various little Patriot Front outfits is what it was, dude. And I've said this before, dude. When it comes to those people, there is no way that these people that are, rock a lava things over their faces and shit like that, or neck gaiters or whatever it is, that are covering their entire face and like popped over like a hood and shit like that, that they are not federal informants or federal agents or something like that is what it is, dude. They 100% are. They can refer to be. And so you have those people come there and act like they're on the right side of history and be like, oh, we oppose this stuff and we're totally with you or whatever the case be. It's like, no, you're not, dickhead. You're not with us at all. You are your own fucking entity. We don't like you either. Fuck off. Get the hell out of here is what it is. And that's the big thing. That's the one thing that a lot of people refuse to talk about. That's especially the mainstream media here, man, is what it is. When that shit happened in Wadsworth a few weeks ago is what it was. You had the fucking local mainstream media not even reporting the fact that you had literal fucking video evidence from Ford Fisher, the News to Share guy, and a few other people that were out there filming that day, who literally showed that neo-Nazi group there being told to fuck off by the people on the right side of history is what it was, dude. It was all the right-wing people that were out there in protest of the drag queen story hour thing that were like, fuck you, you're not with us, get the fuck out of here, Nazi fuck, etc., etc. And then meanwhile, you have all these Antifa fucking twats and stuff like that that have no actual argument against anything is what it is, dude. But just want to sit there and spread their fucking pedophile shit is what it is, dude. And that's what I've called them out many times on this channel and many times in the past on this channel. I mean, different names is what it was, dude. These people are legitimately pushing child molestation, and it's because they either want to molest kids themselves or they want to enable others to do so. So they're either pedophiles themselves or they're pedophile enablers, and this is exactly what we keep seeing with these fucking people every single time, dude. Because when you look at what is happening in this country right now, you have this sick-ass, fucked up, disgusting ass Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0 coming about, where you have this weird degeneracy in our country currently, where even the fucking UN recently is trying to push for basically sex between minors and adults, dude. That was the actual story, by the way, that happened in the last couple of days here, where you had, actually, let me see if I can find it real quick while we're still here on this one, so we can discuss that for a second. Let me see here now. UN. Let's see if this pops up now. Should be here a couple of days ago. All right, I'm going to go through my history then real fast here. Okay, let's see. Okay, here we go. So I'll go ahead and screen share this bad boy real quick here. This was a story from that Fox News reported on, as well as a bunch of other people for that matter too, but they're the closest one I have is what it is here. Says, new UN-backed legal recommendations normalize sex with minors, outraged critics say, as they should be outraged about that too. Said, children may consent to sex with adults. This has been the plan all along, social media influencer charges. This is a shocking report issued by international legal experts with the backing of the United Nations appears to open the floodgates to normalize sex with minors, sexual conduct involving persons below the domestically prescribed minimum age of consent to sex may be consensual in fact, if not the law. The Geneva-based International Committee on Jurists wrote in March on an assessment with the UN AIDS and the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights. The report is titled The 8 March Principles for the Human Rights-Based Approach to Criminal Law Prescribing Conduct Associated with Sex, Reproduction, Drug Use, HIV, Homelessness, and Poverty. God, what a bunch of fucking sickos, dude. So it is published front and center on the group's website. It does not actively call for decriminalizing sex between adults and minors, but it states that children have both the capacity and legal right to make sexual decisions. No, they fucking don't, you sick bastard, pedophile pieces of shit. So according to UN, children may consent to sex with adults. This has been the plan all along. Social media influencer Ian Miles Chong tweeted over the weekend to his 538,000 followers. I follow that guy, by the way. It said, following the report does not offer a suggested age of consent, of sexual consent either. So it was released March 8th in recognition for International Women's Day. Jesus fucking Christ, dude, it gets so much worse. So the commission states online, suggesting there is a connection between women's rights and age of sexual consent. Fuck off, man. That is some sick ass shit. So the once unthinkable recommendations from an international cabal of global elite legal minds appears to suggest that pedophilia could be normalized. It touched off a horrified reaction on social media around the world with that Ian Miles Chong guy saying about the whole thing. So according to UN, children may consent to sex with adults. This has been the plan all along. So UN is full of pedophiles. Former NHL star and Canadian Olympic gold medalist Theo Foley shouted on Twitter, sexual conduct involving persons below the domestically prescribed minimum age of consent to sex may consult in the fact of the law. International, wait, I read the part. This horrendous UN report seeks to decriminalize sex even between children and minors. Evil, tweeted the women's rights activist Michelle something or other of Melbourne, Australia. So she notes that the publication of International Women's Day succeeded in gaslighting women everywhere. International Committee on Jurists added in the report, in this context, the engagement for criminal law should reflect the rights and capacity of persons under 18 years of age to make decisions about engaging in consensual sexual conduct and their right to be heard in matters concerning them. God damn, you fucking sickos, dude. Said further pursue it. I'm not even going to read the rest of it. Fuck it, man. This I've had enough of it, dude. I can't even go on some of that shit anymore, dude. It just, oh my God. This is what I'm saying, dude. And by the way, these are I'm gonna point this out, by the way. That shit right there is the same shit that these fucking leftists that were trying to slander me on Twitter last night. That's the kind of shit that they support, by the way, in this country, dude. Because that's how fucked up these people are in the head right now, dude. We have gone to a point in history right now where you have literally good versus evil. You have warriors of God versus fucking demons of Lucifer. Literally have the right side of history that will win versus a bunch of leftist, tyrannical cunts and terrorists who want to gaslight and slander and have sex with children, etc., dude. And enough is enough of this shit, man. Like, this is why we're seeing right now at the beginning the sparks to civil war currently. You know, you can look at through the past 5-10 years or so, give or take. I would say honestly, it's more about, yeah, I guess. I'm trying to think now exactly how long ago it was. Yeah, so 5 to 10. So it's about. It was really during Obama's administration. So yeah, it would be almost 10 years now. So it'd be 2014 is when he gave BLM a terrorist platform to spew their hate, is what it is. They're black supremacist shit. Then you had them continue on after that. If you go back though, it's even further than that. It's about probably more like, when was the housing market crash? 2008 or so. So it'd be about 15 years, give or take now, when you had what was then the Black Bloc that has since becoming Antifa now, is what it is. And so you have basically terrorism going back roughly about 15, 16 years, give or take, there for the left. When it's that, well, I shouldn't say it's been longer than that, obviously, for these people, but like when it's been these direct groups like that that are directly tied to, you know, being the Democrat violent wing is what it is, dude. That's about how long they've existed for in their actual, you know, historical context and stuff like that. So, and mind you, that thing with the housing market crash thing back in 2008 was basically based on Tim Pool was the one that said it back then when he was actually part of Occupy Wall Street and stuff like that. And that's where you had Antifa as a black bloc then, originally is what it was. I mean, they were just like basically labeled as a black bloc, and they were like the black bloc or whatever then. And then eventually they came up with the whole, you know, Antifa, anti-fascist thing, because what better name to call yourself when you're actually committing real fascism in this country by textbook definition than calling yourself an anti-fascist is what it is. So anyway, the entire point is you had all that shit go on, and then of course you've had it continue on since, you know, like I said, going into 2014 and stuff like that, with BLM's platform at the White House under Obama's administration. And then you had basically Trump get in 2016. You had them do terrorist rioting all over the inauguration there in 2017. And they've just basically continued on since then. You know, it's like most of the time, it's basically in their own little hell pockets. Sort of it is there, like your major cities, like your Portland, Oregon, or your Seattle, Washington, etc., which are basically the biggest hotbeds of Antifa terrorism in this country. But the thing is, there's chapters of them everywhere now, dude. And it's not even, they don't even call themselves Antifa all the time either, is what it is. Sometimes they'll call themselves other stuff. Like specifically, it's like the same thing with BLM, dude. You have a lot of these groups right now that aren't even affiliating under the BLM moniker anymore. They're calling themselves other crap now. Like you had, like I was calling out that one guy the other day, that Reverend Ray Green Jr. That dude basically leads a coalition of people here in Ohio called Freedom Bloc, spelled BLOC. And that is a fucking allied terrorist organization to BLM. And that's why they should also be declared a terrorist organization by name at that point then, if this legislation ever passes here in Ohio. Because you have these people who are openly, and specifically in Ray's case, he was openly calling for violent riots while saying at the same time being like, yeah, keep it mostly peaceful, but do whatever the fuck you need to do to get justice. Like, that's pretty much what he said verbatim, dude. And it's like, bro, how the fuck are you not walked out in handcuffs right then and there when you're openly calling for fucking violence while falsely claiming peaceful protesting? And that's what the left is in a nutshell, dude. They'll sit there and act like, oh, well, see, we have our little soundbite over here where he's saying peaceful protest and refuses to show the rest of the clip that talks about him actually calling for fucking, you know, violent terrorism is what it is, dude. And that's the entire problem with the left right now, dude. Is that they'll take shit way out of context like that. Like even my fucking clip there, dude, or my little response there where I said, you know, this is what an insurrection is. This is the definition of insurrection. And and the reason I said it like that, dude, is because if you're actually smart enough and have a fucking brain in your head, you will look up insurrection definition. Click. Oh shit, he was telling the truth on that one. Yeah, exactly. But that's the problem, dude. When these people share a fucking brain between like 50 of them, it's pretty fucking hard for them to actually not just follow the fucking terrorist leader that day is what it is, dude. Not just be another lemming jumping off the fucking cliff of insanity is what it is. And when you can legitimately tie this shit, like I've said, I consider myself honestly like a mini Andy No at this point, dude, because truthfully speaking, I've seen this shit firsthand, man. I was, like I said, I went to fucking Reddit the other day, and one of the things there in Ark Columbus was a bunch of people trying to fucking organize the shit there to go down to the fucking State House and do basically that little insurrection shit that we saw yesterday. So it's like, how the hell is Reddit not being sued at this point for platforming these fucking people is what it is, dude. Mind you, they were also platforming the fucking asshole who did that one shooting at the Kentucky bank the other day. And that dude has been proven at this point that he was a hardcore anti-Trump motherfucker. But of course, the mainstream media will never say that shit, dude, because it doesn't fit their fucking narrative of, oh, it's all about gun violence and shit like that. It's absolutely ridiculous and disgusting, man. So, anyway, I've just basically had it at this point, man. I really have. And the thing is, I know I'm a good person. I know I'm doing this shit for good. And I know that, honestly, from what I saw yesterday, I know it's working right now. Because if you can say a few words and it triggers people so much, dude, that they will just start adding in their own insanity to top on that, that shows exactly how fucking nuts they are and why they should never have voting rights in this country ever again is what it is. So, anyway. Yeah, 19th Amendment for sure, 100%, at least a partial mistake for giving Democrat women the right to vote is what it is. And I would say the same thing with the 26th Amendment for giving Democrat men the right to vote is what it was, dude. So, really, it comes down to being the fact that with giving those people that ability, they tend to vote in the stupidest people possible is what it is, dude. And even looking at what happened there with the House Joint Resolution yesterday, so you had, and like I said in the earlier one, what I was pretty sure was you had Phil Plummer, who was the chairman of that committee yesterday, basically tell him at 9 a.m. be like, "Hey, we're only doing this for 3 hours, and then we're gonna do our vote at 12 o'clock noon is what it is." Because I think what his plan was, he was trying to get it. I'm pretty sure it was the third hearing court is what it was. So his plan was basically 9 a.m. to noon, do the 3 hour window where people can have their say and stuff like that, and then they're going to vote on it after that. And the thing was, obviously they have the votes ready to be like, no, we're just going to pass this out committee is what it was into the House floor then. And I think they were going to try to do a floor vote yesterday with it, but I'm not sure that ever happened though. I think from what I saw from that 45-minute or so stream that they did for the Ohio channel yesterday for the House, they basically were mostly just doing a whole bunch of congratulations to people for some reason instead of actually voting on stuff. And the only thing they voted on was seemed like one House bill instead of the House Joint Resolution is what it was. So I'm thinking maybe it'll be Thursday or something is when they'll actually vote on that then. Which now, granted, that being said, I'm pretty sure that Senate Joint Resolution number 2, which is the same thing as House Joint Resolution number 1, because they basically did the congruent thing or whatever with it, so that they basically would be the exact same language of both legislation pieces. You would have the Ohio Senate today here on Thursday, Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. I believe they're supposed to meet again, so you could easily have the Senate version pass through the chambers today is what it is, and then come Friday morning or something like that, you would then have it go over to the other side there, to the House chamber, and they could pretty much vote on that through, and it could be on DeWine's desk by Friday afternoon, that's what it would be. So, anywho, the entire point is, though, what's interesting to me is you had Brian Stewart, our state rep here, and I'm actually going to see if I can find this tweet he threw out here a little bit ago again, because he was talking about the stuff going on there at the Ohio State House and whatnot. And it was very interesting, actually, because you had, let me see if I can find it here now. Shit. Where the fuck are we at now? Okay, let's see. Ryan Stu W Stewart Ohio. Hmm. Okay, here it is. So you had there it is right there. Don't really want to have the audio there because it's not worth having because there's a bunch of Democrats just yelling again. Do another little mini insurrection, by the way, and this specifically was some guy getting thrown out, if I'm not mistaken there. So we actually are going to play the video here. So you have people that were in committee there. So this first woman here is Tavia Golonsky. She, by the way, should have been thrown out of the State House 3 years ago for being literally allied with BLM terrorists. She's literally a member of BLM specifically is what it is, dude, and has ties to them. She's also tried to defund the cops in the state several times now and was never thrown out of office. Then you have this dumb motherfucker right behind her here is the first Muslim dude and newcomer to the State House. He's only been there for about 100 days or so, give or take. Then behind him, this blonde bitch right here is that fucking cunt Allison Russo I always talk about. She is the bitch who literally took a direct bribe on camera from Moms Demand Action in May 2021 at a House Oversight Committee hearing for constitutional carry that day. And then, not sure who the other people are there. I think they're just a couple of leftist people, but yeah, they're basically just like yelling and screaming and stuff. This is all the leftist people, by the way, that didn't have a chance to speak, is what it was yesterday. Because there was literally like 100 and something people there, and they all had like, I think, 5 minutes to say something or whatever. And obviously, there's a lot more than what can be said in like a 3-hour window. And then, of course, that dude right there is walking out, this big boy right here in the gray suit jacket. That's Dontavius Jarrells. He is the second-term guy. He is also part of BLM, by the way. That motherfucker has direct ties to BLM. The only reason he's even in office is because, just like Allison Russo, he holds one of the 10 seats down there in Columbus, in Franklin County, that are all held by Democrats, with the only other one, that's the 11th one, held by Republican David Dobos right now. And then the woman right there, who I've actually called on Twitter a couple times, we've had interactions with each other. Her double chin ass is Jessica Miranda. She is the anti-gun piece of shit who is also tied to MDA. Most likely bribes at this point. I haven't actually gotten video evidence of her yet. I'm sure there was out there is what it is. I just haven't got a chance to look through it. That's what it was. She basically went on a whole tirade yesterday against some woman who was talking about the horrible rape of that 10-year-old girl by the illegal alien here in Ohio, yet didn't bother mentioning how the guy was an illegal alien who had no business being in our country to begin with. Because that's what fucking pieces of shit like Jessica Miranda do, is what it is, dude. And you have her shaking her head like a bitch. And then I'm not sure who that dude is behind her. I think it's just some other lefty guys, what it is. I think other people there may just been like a bunch of leftists who were trying to testify is what it was. But yeah, you had this Karen Kessel woman claim after opponent testimony was cut off, an opponent was removed, and then Ohio House Democrats walked out of the vote for House Joint Resolution 1. And right there, sorry, you are now in dereliction of duty of your actual job. Get the fuck out of the State House and never come back, you fucking cunts, because you no longer have a job here is what it is. And that's my biggest problem right now with these spineless ass fucking rhinos in the Ohio General Assembly, dude. Just like every other General Assembly across this fucking country right now. Boot these fucking people out of office. You have the votes to do it, people. You have the supermajority votes to do it. Lockstep, kick them the fuck out of the General Assembly like I've been calling for you to do ever since January of this fucking year, dude. Enough is enough of this shit with all these oath-breaking fucking cunts in office anymore, dude. Especially when 99% of these fucking people have legitimately committed multiple crimes of deprivation of the code of law every time that they pushed or tried to introduce a piece of anti-gun legislation, including universal background checks and red flag laws, etc., dude. So anyway, but yeah, you had that Karen woman saying they walked out of the House Joint Resolution 1 hearing requiring 60% voter approval for constitutional amendment changes. Republicans went it on the ballot for August before a quote reproductive rights amendment is on the ballot this fall. It's not reproductive rights amendment, you stupid bitch. It's literally abortion / genital mutilating children, you fucking cunt. And rightfully, Brian Stewart called her ass out and said the chair at the beginning, meaning Phil Plummer, of the hearing, said it would last 3 hours and finish at noon. We listened for 3 hours of witnesses giving the exact same speech, which were the same 3 hours of speeches they did in December. If we'd sat for 7 hours, they'd complain we didn't sit there for 10 hours. Exactly. And I actually responded back to Brian here, and I said, this was after I was, it out, by the way. Let's see if I can find my, where am I now? Is there another way I can go to my replies? What the hell? There's a direct reply thing there. Yeah, there is. Yeah, so it's not worth it to engage with these leftist NPCs, Brian. Just look at how they rage and slandered our group yesterday for calling out their mini insurrection against allowing men and girls sports. These people hate constitutional republics and falsely claim democracy, which I was trying to say something longer than that, but unfortunately, characters and stuff like that, it cut you off eventually. And I'm not sure exactly what I was going to say. I think they said falsely. I was going to say, I believe I was going to say something about like falsely claim democracy, and just straight up lie about what our country really is what it is. Because that's what the truth is, by the way. And that's the thing that pisses me off, by the way. I'm going to call out you, Teresa Gavarone, Rhino. Stop saying democracy, lady. We're not a fucking democracy. You, as a Republican in the State House who has taken an oath to the Constitution, should know that we are a constitutional republic. Stop trying to claim America's democracy. We're not. All you're doing is feeding into the left's bullshit at this point, lady. And you're supposed to be the fucking Senate Majority Whip? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, come on, bitch. Damn it. Y'all are pissing me off, man. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, enough is enough of this shit, dude. We're not a democracy. We never have been a democracy. America has been a constitutional republic since we literally fought the fucking British Empire, since our founding fathers killed a bunch of the British Empire to take this country by force in 1775, leading into 1776. Yesterday, April 19th, was literally the shot heard around the world in 1775, dude. It was the day that the first American Civil War kicked off in this country. Or sorry, the first American Revolution kicked off in this country. Yeah, it was 1890. It was 1865 was when the first American Revolution happened. I was to say first for both those things because I'm pretty sure we're about to have a second one here pretty damn soon is what it is, dude, with the way things are going again. Not that I want to see it happen, but I mean, shit, man, we are so fucking close to balkanization at this point in this country because, again, it's just the divide is widening and widening and widening and widening and widening. But anyway, the entire point is, though, you have a situation where our founders literally fought for their lives and their freedoms. And if they had been caught at any time, they would have been killed by the British Empire, dude. They would have been killed by the fucking redcoats. They would have been killed by the regulars back in those days. Because that's one thing people always talk about. They always talk about, like, the British are coming, all that shit like that, dude. The old Paul Revere ride and stuff. That was actually partially misconstrued in that whole phrasing and stuff. And I believe what they do teach in schools, or at least what they used to anyway when I was going to schools, was the whole British are coming. Paul Revere never said that. What he actually said was the regulars are coming because that's what they called the redcoats back in the day, because it was like the regular militia guys is what it was, regular military guys is what it was then. Obviously, all of our dudes were the militia is what it was at the time. And that's the thing. When people talk about, the militia and the Constitution and stuff like that, Second Amendment and whatnot, what they're talking about is the everyday citizenry, dude. They're talking about the everyday citizen being able to just fucking go is what it is. Being able to go to get shit done and at a moment's notice be able to pick up a firearm and defend their nation against tyranny is what it is. And tyranny usually comes in the form of government, whether that be left, right, or center. It almost always comes in the form of some kind of government takeover. And we've seen that since 2020, dude. And that's the one thing that pisses me off beyond belief in this country, honestly, is that we did not see a giant rise in 2020 then. And that's the biggest thing, too. And I've talked about this before on the channel. I'll talk about it again actually right now. Back in 2019, early 2020, I began having conversations with a group of people who went under Stark Stands United. We were a part of another group called Ohio Stands United that basically did its own thing eventually, and they became a whole Joe Jorgensen offshoot thing or whatever that we had nothing to do with at the time, because they were just straight up lying and telling everybody one thing when they were doing nothing to actually help us get to a sanctuary stuff past the county levels, and then basically becoming this weird thing for Joe Jorgensen in 2020 to support her ass is what it was then, and that guy that from Cincinnati that started that group can go fuck himself is what it is, because you're a scumbag, dude, and you're a fucking sellout to the cause is what it is, and you are the fucking backstabbing Benedict Arnold pieces of shit we always talk about here is what it is. So anyway, by the way, a lot of those people, I'm gonna say it like it is right now, a lot of the people that were part of Ohio State United, dude, were all BLM and Antifa terrorists at the end of the day. I was originally like part of that overall group at one point at the very beginning of it until a lot of us, including myself, realized what the fuck it was, and we dipped the fuck out immediately is what it was. When you had a bunch of our pro-2A people being attacked by Antifa and BLM terrorists on the left, dude, we were like, nah, fuck you guys. Fuck you. You are not part of us. We're not part of you. Fuck your bullshit here. You're a bunch of fucking sellouts. And we left our asses at that point and formed our own shit. And we made it very, very clear at that point the Stark Station United had nothing to do with Ohio State United at the time of then. But yeah, anyway, so basically what happened was back in, I believe it was either December of 2019 or early 2020, this was the second meeting for Stark Station United I went to, because the first one I had not known it happened or whatever. And then it was basically catching steam from local media and stuff like that. We found out that there was one going on again, and we were like, okay, cool, let's go to that over here at this library is what it was. And so went there, met the guy who would have been lieutenant governor for 2022 if I'd actually been able to get enough signatures and stuff like that, been on the ballot for 2022 as governor race then. Met him. We had a nice discussion there. We were discussing some stuff, and he basically informed me of some things, and that's basically how I became a constitutionalist like I am now today, is what it is 3 years later. And basically at that point in time, we were all discussing, you know, the fallout and how we were all part of the same thing to deal with. And this, by the way, this is the real problem that comes to the right and like center and stuff like that, who are all pro-freedom people is what it is. Anytime that the left does some kind of overreach, we are always reacting. We are never being the people to do something first. We're never cutting them off at the fucking knees to begin with, dude. And, you know, striking first, Cobra Kai style is what it is. You know, strike first, strike hard, no mercy. But the problem is we're always letting them get the first strike in is what it is. And so we're basically just being reactionary instead of actually being the opposite way of that and being, you know, proactive and doing our thing first. And I blame this a lot on politicians, actually, that are Republicans and stuff like that, GOP members and stuff, because they're the ones that never actually go first, is what it is, dude. They always want to be, you know, reacting to something, is what it is. Now, granted, that being said, sometimes that can be a good thing because you let these fucking psychotic leftists have their, you know, say of whatever then, show how fucking insane that their shit is, and then do the complete opposite of that, and eventually, you know, make states become constitutional carry states, is what it is, dude, and stand your ground states, etc., which is awesome. The big thing there is you should already be doing that proactively, is what it is, not reactively. And so what happened was you had myself and other people, we were all part of this grassroots organization, you know, 2019, 2020. As soon as the lockdown started, dude, instantly, not only just us, by the way, there was a huge, at that point in time in history, in like January, February 2020, there was this huge grassroots movement going on in this country for Second Amendment rights, for First Amendment rights, for constitutional rights in general. And as soon as they started announcing this 2 weeks to slow the spread lockdown shit, just threw fucking water all over everybody and just shut us all down immediately. And it's like, bro, really? Like, come on now. And it just amazed me, dude, like how quickly you could see government tyranny taking over back then. And that is exactly why I sat there and I just doubled down on my constitutionalism. You know, I met my buddy Joe, and he was a good dude. He was what I consider to be the best constitutionalist I've ever met, actually, because he knew exactly what he was talking about. He had done so much studying and everything else like that. He's now since moved on and done other stuff, is what it was. He's doing more like weird, like guru stuff or whatever now, and like spirituality and things like that, which I have no problem with, man. Like, you know, you do you, bro. But it is kind of weird how he kind of disappeared for a little while, and then he came back all like namaste and stuff like that. But I don't know. Maybe that's where I need to be at right now. I don't know, man. Perhaps. Maybe that's my next plane of transition, is like the whole, you know, spirituality or something like that then. But anyway, the entire point is, though, is I'm sitting here, you know, dealing with lockdown stuff, dealing with not being able to see family and being like, this is fucking bullshit, just watching the government trample over people's rights and stuff like that. And I'm like, no, it's never going to happen again, never going to happen again, never happen again. Calling up state house members, calling up state senate members, you know, hearing from nobody, just getting dial tones, just getting fucking answering machines, etc. being like, why aren't you impeaching DeWine? Why aren't you impeaching other members of the General Assembly right now that are keeping us under tyranny right now? And, nothing from these people. There was a couple that did their job back then, but unfortunately they were the really, really, really small mass minorities. It was people like Candace Keller specifically. I think she was one of the ones that was heading it at the time because she was actually trying to run for state senate at the time then. Unfortunately, she ended up getting primaried by George Lang, who is actually in our state senate right now. George is not a bad dude when it comes to stuff, but he is definitely a rhino on a bunch of shit. And the biggest problem is Keller would have been the one to actually vote in the state senate at the time because of the fact that she herself could have been one of the best Pro 2A champions in our state senate currently is what it is, and would have definitely been the person that introduced constitutional carry over there and a better version of standard ground, etc. over there. So anyway, it's sad that she didn't get in there, but that's besides the point at this point in time in history. The entire point I'm trying to make is though, so, you had me basically doubling down, and, keep doubling down on constitutionalism is what it was. And then, obviously I met Honda and all those guys since then. We started being, I think it was like the end, like September, October 2020 is when I first started jumping into streams with them. And then eventually, in one of those Sunday night streams, I met Barbecue for the first time. I thought he was a good dude at the time. Turns out he was sort of two-faced is the best way I could describe him in general. And, I'm not going to say I have any ill will against John, honestly, but he fucked me over, dude. He did. He really fucked me over bad last year for some bullshit is what it was, dude. For me speaking the truth about the founding of this country is what it was, and it's not okay, bro. And like I said, that's why I'm giving him and other people about 30 days, give or take, right now, until the end of May. It's been over a year. It's been pretty close to a year now, but I'm still pissed off about it, dude. And yeah, if y'all don't apologize to me in some way, shape, or form by May 31st, dude, I'm just gonna sue the shit out of you guys on June 1st is what it is. And you might not be the only ones getting slander, defamation lawsuit at that point. I might be suing the shit out of these fucking assholes here in Ohio too. So anyway, I'm just fucking over it is what it is, dude. And that's what I'm saying, right? Like, if I'm willing to sue 2A people, right? You really think I'm not going to sue these leftist motherfuckers too, man? Like, come on now. But anyway, yeah. And mostly that's just emotional distress and emotional, slander, defamation, etc. there. Because again, and that's the thing, right? Like, my biggest issue with Guns and Barbecue is he and I had that back chat conversation. And the thing, my understanding was I was going to be back on his panels at some point. Like, that's how he explained it to me. He was like, yeah, just take a couple weeks off, a month off, whatever it was, let everything basically chill out or whatever the case be. And then it was legitimately like a day and a half later, he went on a whole fucking tirade against me is what it was. Not even bothering to name me in that tirade, by the way, which I think is even more insulting at that point. And, basically trying to grandstand himself is what it was then. And use me as a fucking essentially platform to do it is what it was then. And then he proceeded a couple weeks later to have that asshole Baron SVG take my original clip out of context and try to use it to slander me again. And that's basically what sent me into a downward spiral pretty bad last year, to the point where I was thinking I was going to have an Antifa direct action at my house at some point. So, yeah, that's what put me into a depressive state, by the way, back then last year, dude. And it was not a good time back in late May, early June of last year. So, anywho, I'm better now, though, is what it is, at least for the most part anyway. But yeah, I still get pissed off from time to time by the whole thing, dude, because it's so infuriating because there's still people out there that are part of the larger community is what it is that think I'm a piece of shit now, even though I said absolutely nothing wrong. And I will stand by the statement I made that day, by the way, because I've even doubled down on that since then, dude. Like, yeah, if you look at the founding of this country, legitimately, our founding fathers, what were they? They were a bunch of white Christian guys. That's what they founded America as, dude. It wasn't until later on that we actually became a melting pot, or at least as close as we can get, because you will have people like Islam specifically that refuse to melt is what it is. And then you have all these leftists, that, specifically the teachers and stuff like that, they'll sit there and try to push diversity, inclusive bullcrap is what it is, man. Yet meanwhile, will be some of the most uninclusive there are out there. Or they're the ones actively pushing the fucking, claiming that diversity inclusive crap is what it is, and then pushing like pedophilia on kids and shit, dude. Or enabling others to do that stuff in these schools is what it is. So, yeah, just not okay, man. That's what it is. But that's the entire point, though. And like I said, I'll continue to stick by those statements every day, man. Because why wouldn't I? I'm a good person. I know what the fuck I'm here to do, man. I'm here to fight for the rights of the people, is what it is. And I'm here to fight against a bunch of sick child molesters, what it is in this country, honestly, dude. And when you look at the Democrat Party and most of its, followers and base and stuff like that's what they are at this point, dude. They're either enablers or pedos themselves, is what it is. And the ones that aren't, they'll sit there and hide the ones that are, is what it is, man. And that's the sad part right now. You look at Hollywood right now, man. You have probably maybe 10, 20% at most of that place that's actual abusers. And then you have like 80, 90% of it that's fucking people who will just cover the shit up for these people that are abusing the kids. So fucked up, bro, in general. But anyway, I'm kind of getting off topic and getting off track now. Plus we're getting tired because we've been here for almost an hour now. So I think I'm basically going to call it a day now. And I'll be back at some point. Probably the next day or two is what it is. Debating. I'd like to have a couple of the boys on for a panel one of these days soon and just discuss some stuff is what it is. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow afternoon. Who knows? Depends. I got some stuff I got to do, and then I got some other stuff I got to do this weekend is what it is then. So maybe not then. Plus, I'm starting to run out of time on the channel right now. My thing finally hit above, I think we're at about 13, 14 hours now right now. So got about 6 left for the rest of the month, which should be, today is the 20th. Oh, by the way, for those who don't know, today is the 24th anniversary of Columbine Massacre. And who's to say that piece of shit Jared Polis isn't going to sign a bunch of gun control today in Colorado? We already know that fucker Jay Inslee is going to try to push through an assault weapons ban today in Washington State. And of course, I'm sure he'll say some reference to Columbine is what it is then. Be like, yeah, we're going to ban these assault weapons because these assault weapons bans totally worked and would have totally stopped Columbine back in 1999. Except they fucking wouldn't have because they didn't, you jackass, because there was one underneath that. And guess what? The 2 fucking fucksticks who did Columbine didn't even use shit that was banned, dude. All the stuff they used, all the shotguns and stuff like that they used in that massacre, was all shit that wasn't banned under the AWB, man. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think if Tech 9s were or not then, because I know Tech 9s are one of the guns they used back then. I don't think they were either, which is weird. So, maybe that was the one that was banned on. I can't remember offhand. I don't think it was, though. Because that's what it was. A lot, like, and that's the thing. When you look back at the 94 to 2004 AWB in this country and stuff, the majority of shit that was banned there, you had other versions of it that weren't banned. Like, you had Mini 14s and stuff like that, like the ranch version of it, that was the wood stock and stuff. That wasn't banned, yet meanwhile, the one that had the side folding telescope, it was like a side folder, and then it was like a black synthetic stock on it. And I want to say it had a place where you could do like a forward grip on it or something. And then obviously had like a flash hider and stuff on the muzzle brake and shit. All that stuff was banned because they were banning it by those names and stuff, dude. And that's the big thing now is you had all this stuff that was banned by like various cosmetic features. But now if they did one today in 2023, it wouldn't just be cosmetic features. It would be basically, let's ban everything across the board. Because that's the whole thing. That's the entire point of fighting government tyranny. And that's the entire point of why on June 13, 2022, I created Ohio Patriot Education Network that day. I created it specifically that day so that every anniversary of Ohio's Constitutional Carry Day will be the anniversary of Ohio Patriot Education Network. June 13th of 2023, a little over 2 months from now, will be the first anniversary of Ohio Patriot Education Network. We have been a 2A rights organization right now for 10 months. We have been a constitutional rights network for 10 months. So yeah, any of these lying assholes on Twitter that want to sit there and claim, oh, they probably donated to January 6th people's funds. How could we? We didn't exist before 10 months ago. Number one. Number two, we don't have money to do that, you idiots. All of that being said, I'd be 100% willing to bet that you fuckers, like you, Maria Bruno, probably did fund a bunch of BLM and Antifa terrorism in this country. Shit, you probably bought these fuckers the magazines and the guns and stuff, or at least their ammunition anyway. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that bitch was actually part of the Chaz back in the day. Given how many nuts were there is what it was, man. Or at least supported the damn thing anyway. She was probably like Yankee Marshall. I'm an ally. If you've never seen that video, by the way, you need to watch that shit because it was Yankee going into the fucking Chaz and talking with a bunch of Antifa assholes there, a bunch of terrorists and shit. And they were saying something about the pin he had on over at the time. They're like, "Oh, is that a cop pin?" He's like, and like when he I think he tries to look down or something like that. It's like boom, right in the fucking face. And then he's like, "It was a dog pin, you fucking asshole." So, but then what's funny is he'll always stomp for these morons, is what it is, dude. And it's like, that tells you everything you knew about Yankee Marshall, dude. The guy's a fucking idiot. He's a leftist twat. By the way, he's the same kind of people, just like PNW Woods, man, where they will sit there. Because I had actual conversations with the Woods back in the day, man, where I specifically asked him like a year and a half ago when I was still hanging out barbecuing them. And this is back when, or maybe not quite a year and a half ago, maybe about 15, 16 months ago, give or take, because it's probably like January of last year. I was asking him then, because that was about the time that you had Washington State try to do, the whole mag ban and all these other bans and stuff like that. And I'm like, because at that point I was actually I was doing grandstands back then as well, underneath the other moniker I used to use for Metapor and stuff like that. And I was talking about it then, and I was specifically saying about how I was like, "Hey, man, are you worried about this passing?" And he's like, "Oh no, it doesn't worry me." He's like, "It's not going to pass." And I'm just like, "You realize I've done videos in the last couple of days, and it shows how big your supermajority of Democrats are in the state house, right? In the state senate too, for that matter, where they basically control everything in your state there." And he's like, "Oh no, it doesn't worry me at all, dude." And I'm like, "It probably should, dude, because I think it's going to pass." And literally within like 3 days of that, the shit fucking passed. So, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's one of those things where it's like I don't want to be like one of those "I told you so" people, but it's like I fucking told you guys that shit was gonna happen, dude, and you didn't listen to me. Like that's the thing. You should listen to the autistic guy, man. Like, yeah, I might say something, you know, offhanded or whatever here and there because of my autism and shit, dude. But seriously, you weaponize my autism for good, and I can be one of your best friends and one of your best actual allies in the fight for fucking Second Amendment stuff, dude. And the fight against tyranny is what it is. And that's the biggest thing with a lot of autistic people, dude. If you weaponize the autism properly and you give us the task that we need to be on and stuff like that, man, and you have us driven into that task and stuff, we will basically get it done every single time, all the way around. And that's the problem, though, is people don't want to do that. They don't want to actually engage and have the time to do stuff like that. So I don't know. It is what it is. But like I said, I could really give a fuck less at this point. Personally, I just want an apology from those dudes. And they could just, after the fact, just walk away, and I'll walk away, and we can walk away. Amicable enemies is what it is. So that's all I'm asking for, man. Just straight up apologize for slandering and defaming me last year. It was not okay. It was not cool, man. And you're obviously taking shit way out of context, is what it was, dude. Because the entire point y'all failed to mention in that whole entire like clip that y'all edited out is what it was. The entire fucking rant that I was going on at the time was why I wouldn't date leftist women. So to sit there and take out that little piece of it or whatever to try to make it seem like I was an asshole, when in reality it just proves that you're a bunch of fucking douchebags, shows exactly what I'm talking about right there. And why I won't hang out with your asses ever again, by the way. That's why I have not hung out with you for over a year now, and why I refuse to hang out with you ever again is what it is. So if you've watched Honda's Rumble chats in the last couple of weeks, I actually called your asses out a couple weeks ago on that one because I was sick and tired of it. And I finally had enough, dude. And I felt like Honda's rant against, I think it was Ray at the time or whatever, gave me an opening, and I took it, is what it was. Because I was still pissed then, and I'm still a little bit pissed right now. Mostly because it's like when you put somebody into a depressive state in their life, it's not okay, man. When you put them into a downward spiral that they are in their own head so badly that they can't even get proper sleep, that's a bad time, man. That leads to bad things. And that's exactly where I was at last year. So, anyway, that being said, I think it's for the better though, honestly. Because I talked about it before that on this channel years ago about the fake treats and stuff like that, and the phonies and the frauds and stuff like that outing themselves eventually. And that's exactly what I saw last year, dude. People that I thought were friends or acquaintances or whatever the case be that could have been, if something ever did happen, maybe they were going to be there as potential backup for me. No, it's just sticking a knife in my back, dude, stabbing me in the back and stuff, and proving to me that, yeah, you're not trustworthy if something ever does happen is what it is. But thanks for showing me that, honestly. And that's the one thing I will thank them on, honestly, is thank you for showing me your true colors a year ago and proving why I will never hang out with you ever again and why I don't want anything to ever go with you again except for being apologized to is what it is. So, anyway, that's the one thing I will give these leftists, right? Like going full circle all the way to the beginning of this episode. One thing I will give these leftists here is at least these fucking psychos will show you their true colors immediately, man. They won't just sit there and fucking pretend and placate and shit like that and lie to your face. Say one thing on camera and then say a completely different thing behind closed doors. And then a couple days later go on camera again and try to make themselves all big and bad and shit. It's fucking disgusting is what it is, dude. It's really cunty behavior, I'll say that right now. Honestly, dude, legitimately. That's a fucking cunt move for real, man. So, which I'm not surprised by, given some of these people is what it is, dude. And given where some of them even live for that matter, and given the fact that some of them, when you actually look at them, look like they probably are part of Antifa and BLM, etc., dude. So, just saying, man. Especially them Washington State guys, bro. Like, there's only a couple of those guys I actually trust, and it ain't the ones that slandered my ass last year, man. I'll tell you that much. I side eye those motherfuckers like crazy now because they legitimately look like somebody that would be out at these marches for Antifa and BLM and shit in 2020, man. So, anyway, that's pretty much it for the day, though. Like I said, we got crazy shit popping off in Akron there last night. Took the cops about a half hour, roughly, give or take, to get the whole thing going from them getting bottles thrown at them about 7:57 p.m. last night. I think it was about 8:30 or so was when you had the crowds being dispersed and it being declared an unlawful assembly and shit like that. Which, by the way, and this is one thing that I do have a problem with Dan Horgan and the other Democrats there in Akron that are leadership in that mayor's race, and Dan Horgan being the current mayor until the end of the year, until the end of I think it's May here is what it is when they actually have the new mayor race is what it is. But yeah, you got other people like Tara Mosley, who's part of the city council is trying to run for mayor right now and stuff. And my thing is, it's like you're the leadership of that fucking city right now, dude. You all should have came together. You knew what was going to fucking happen in this whole thing, dude. Why would you not declare curfews in that fucking city? Why would you, Mike DeWine, and I'm even going to call him on the other side of the ticket, man. Why would you, Governor DeWine, not see what's happening there? Not see what's happened there in the past year or so when they smashed up businesses. When you have businesses boarding up their windows because they fear them being smashed out by terrorists, dude, declare a fucking dusk to dawn curfew for God's sakes. Shit, declare a fucking curfew all throughout the fucking day, even for that matter, dude. If there's, I would say it like this, honestly, if there was more than like 3 or 4 people, break it up, man, kind of thing at that point. Like, have the cops intervene and shit like that, dude. If nothing else, be like, what are y'all doing over here? Because that's the thing, right? Like, it's going to take like 5, 10, 15 of them usually or more. So it's like, yeah, if you got a group of like, 8, 10, 15, 20 something people, grouping together and stuff like that for something, dude. Like, I don't know, fucking throw some cold water on it is what it is, dude. Shut it the fuck down before it gets violent is what it is. Like, seriously, and that's the biggest problem I have with the Akron cops in general. Like, you have so many videos in the past, like, 3, 4 days now of these asshole BLM terrorists obstructing traffic and committing other misdemeanor crimes all over Akron-Canton area, and they're not being arrested for it. They're not being arrested on misdemeanor obstructing traffic laws, dude. Like, how hard is that to do that, man? If nothing else, again, all you would have to do at that point is just declare the shit an unlawful assembly. Be like, go home, kids. But they won't say that to them because they're like, oh, we want to respect their freedom to assemble and shit. And that's the big thing, right? There is a huge difference between freedom of assembly and assembling to commit terrorism. And that's what the left does anymore, dude. They don't assemble for peaceful protests and stuff, dude. They assemble to go do rioting and to go do terrorism and to go fuck with the cops and do all kinds of fucking, by definition, terroristic events and terroristic attacks. Because that's what they are, dude. They're a bunch of terrorists. And if our founding fathers saw what was going on here right now, dude, they would be fucking spinning in their goddamn graves right now to see what this country has fallen to. Because it's always these leftist fucking twats that are sitting there being like, our democracy and we're under attack, fight back, all that shit like that kind of crap is what it is, dude. And it's all like this, it's the stupidest fucking chance ever is what it is, dude. From a bunch of idiots. So I don't know. I'm just fed up with all of it, I think is what it is. And I think other people are too at this point, man. The big thing is, like I said, when you have, like, these people are sitting there trying to falsely claim, like, oh, we control everything here and stuff on a Wednesday afternoon at the State House. It's like, no, you don't, dude. Do that shit on a Saturday or Sunday. Give advance notice to people that are actually working poor in this country who will show up on those days when they have the day off is what it is. And you'll see the real voter base in this country, dude. You'll see the real voter base in the state of Ohio. And it's not going to be 170 dipshits that are against the fucking resolution to stop Ohio's constitution from being amended without a 60% threshold voter base. It's going to be the people that are the 60-something% voter base at this point who voted in 67 Republicans in 2022, who voted in, 25 Republicans to our state Senate in the past few years is what it is. So, yeah. And that's what it is. It's a silent majority right now. And that's the problem. We need to be the vocal majority right now, dude. Enough is enough of being silent on these fucking assholes, dude. It's time to call out these fucking leftist cunts every chance we get is what it is, dude. And if they want to sit there and try and throw water on us and try to, ally us to January 6th shit, fuck you. I completely deny your bullshit at this point because it's a bunch of fucking lies and a bunch of fucking slander. And if you keep trying to do it, I will sue the fuck out of you is what it is, dude. Period. You think I'm fucking playing, dude? I can get legal aid on the phone tomorrow. And I guarantee you they would fucking help fund a lawsuit against these fucking twats. So, anyway. That's pretty much where we're at for the day, though. Like I said, I'll be back at some point in the future. I'm not sure when. Friday, Saturday, maybe. I don't know. I kind of want to do another Fishing Friday, maybe. I think I want to do that as a weekly thing now, if that'd be the case. Maybe every 2 weeks or something like that. We talked quite a bit last time about what I'm going to throw this year, but I kind of want to get more into maybe just do like one bait a week or something like that, and then discuss like, oh, this is something I've caught, X amount of fish on, or, just like some fishing stories is what it is then, maybe, with like a certain bait or something, because there is one that I've caught my biggest basketball time on, that I'm still hoping to break the record on, but if I do, unfortunately be without my uncle, because he was there that day that I caught that 5.2 is what it was. So there's a video still on this channel someplace. I don't know if I kept it on the channel or not, actually. It might be. I think I downloaded it and then I privated it after the fact of what it was. But yeah, it was he and I was out on the dock that day and, just throwing out into the sticks there and reeling back. And all of a sudden I'm just like, and, trying to ease up and stuff like that, making sure the line didn't break, because I got like 6 pound test or something on the line at the time, and it was a over 5 pound fish then. And he's just like, oh yeah, get the tip like this, and keep the pressure on, but don't, keep it too tight or whatever the case be. And you can see it just like vroom, vroom, just like ripping out fucking line and everything else like that. And yeah, eventually I was able to, about probably a half hour later, I think is what it was, finally able to get up to the bank and stuff like that. He had grabbed my net and ended up netting it for me. And then you can see in the video where he's actually holding it up for us because he was able to finally get it in the boat then. So, because he was sitting in the boat while I was on the dock there, and he was able to net it from the boat then is what it was. So I miss him. I really do. He is no longer with us because of some shit relating to 2020. And yeah, it didn't help after last year, everything happening with me and the guys and stuff like that. Because that was me already in a saddened state is what it was from my uncle's passing. And then it's like, they say you don't kick people when they're down and stuff like that, dude. And it was legitimately like somebody just running up and just kneeing me in the fucking face after all that shit. And then meanwhile, while I'm on the ground all fucked up, like holding my head and shit, then somebody else comes up and kicks me in the nuts. Then a few days later is what it is, man. So, and that was Baron's bitch ass then. But yeah, it is what it is. Hopefully I'll be able to get over this at some point, man. I don't know. I probably should at this point. I mean, it's been a year. Like, it's not like I'm not totally over it either, is what it is. It's just like, again, I just want to point this out, by the way. I'm not like sitting here like every fucking day being like, oh, those fucking douchebags, oh, those fucking like kind of shit like that. Or whatever. It's like, nah, bro, I'm doing other stuff every day of my life. It just happens to be from time to time. It's just like, things will kick back around or whatever the case be, or something will happen. It's just like, yeah, there's those fucking cunts again, or something like that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? And it just sort of rehashes just my bit of anger is what it is at the time then. So that I'm still holding on to. But hopefully I'll be able to let that go at some point here and completely move on with my life entirely. Which, like I said, I think if I was able to get an apology out of these dudes, like, I think that would let me move on then is what it is. But until it happens, like, nothing's ever going to change is what it is then. So, but like I said, it is what it is, man. Anyway, that's where we're at for the day, though. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will see you all in the next one.